Dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, I welcome you all to Afghanistan economy subject. This is the first and introductory lecture of this subject. In this introductory lecture, we'll have discussion on the following contents: self-introduction, introduction to class, introduction to course contents, introduction to mode of lectures, and introduction to the subject. I'll start from the beginning. The first one, self-introduction. So, I'm Nasratullah Nuri. I'll be teaching the subject inshallah this semester. This subject is for the students of BBA, Salam University, semester 6, for the sessions morning, afternoon and evening, both male and female. The course contents of this subject are here. You can see the topics of this course has been divided into 16 weeks. In the first week, we'll have discussion on introduction and general information regarding Afghanistan economy. In the second week, we'll have discussion on economic history and the background. In the third week, we'll have discussion on economic performance, national accounts, and economic statistics of Afghanistan. In the fourth week, we'll have discussion on fiscal policy of Afghanistan. The fifth week, we'll discuss monetary policy of Afghanistan. In the sixth week, we'll talk about the banking in Afghanistan. Seventh week, we'll discuss the taxation in Afghanistan. Week 8, we'll discuss the commerce and industry sectors of our economy. Week 9, we'll have discussion on mine and mineral resources in Afghanistan. Week 10, we'll have discussion on economic and social developments in Afghanistan. We'll have discussion in 11th week on Afghanistan fiscal year and budgeting. There'll be discussion on financial and economic agencies of Afghanistan in 12th week. And we'll have discussion on trade agreements and relationships with international finance and economic institutions. That will be in 13th week. 14th week, we'll have discussion on reasons of economic backwardness. 15th week, we'll have discussion on Afghanistan National Development Strategy, and 16th week, we'll have discussion on economic development and recovery. One thing more I will have to add is that this subject does not have a specific book which could be used as a reference or as a source of self-study, where all these 16-week topics are available. These 16-week topics, the material for these topics has been collected from the internet, from different Wikipedias, from World Bank reports, from UN annual reports, from Afghanistan government reports, from Ministry of Commerce and Industries, from Ministry of Finance, from the Afghanistan Bank, which is the Central Bank of Afghanistan, from various books written about the Afghanistan economy, and we'll have discussions and debates. So what I mean to say is that we does not have a single uniform book available which will contain all these topics included in our curriculum. And there are multiple reasons of this. One of the most important reasons is that Afghanistan's economy has not been stable since last 8 or 5 decades. Therefore, nobody has dared to write a book on Afghanistan's economy, but we do have some publications from international agencies like the Asia Foundation, the United Nations, the World Bank, and there are different government and non-governmental institutions which has published different reports based on the researches time by time. So we have utilized all of them and prepared this course content and the lectures for you students. All right. So the mode of delivery of the lecture is going to be very efficient and effective, and it is that we will have the lecture notes, which are mostly be going to the PowerPoint slides, right? These are, you see, the lecture notes, PowerPoint slides, and inshallah I'll provide you all these PowerPoint slides in Salam LMS. I'll upload them inshallah, and then you can download it for yourselves. Besides these lecture notes, the PowerPoint slides will have a class note in this Word file, and this Word file will discuss all those topics which require further elaboration and explanation, and we will explain them in simple English in this Word file. And inshallah by the end of each chapter, this Word file will also be uploaded to the LMS, and then you can have access to it and get yourselves benefited from this file as well. So you will have two type of material. One is going to be the lecture notes, which are these PowerPoint slides, and second is going to be the class notes, which is going to be this Word file. Besides these two, I'll provide you with the material that I have utilized to develop all these 10 or 11 chapters, starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So all these 10 different chapters, I have utilized the information from these resources. These are the reports you can see, which I have obtained from various international and local organizations, and all this material is based on the research that they have conducted. So I have to upload all this information to Salam LMS as well, so you can utilize them as a reference or as a source of extra study, right? For example, there is Afghanistan economy profile 2015, then we have economic profile 2018, then we have economic profile 2008, then there is another report from 8 to 13, it's in English. Then we have economic profile 2010, then we have economic profile 2011, then we have 2013, 14, 16, then there is a report um, on the state-owned enterprises, tasaddiha. So this report talks about all the tasaddis in Afghanistan, which are the entities which are owned by the state. And then 2016 by the name of New Afghanistan. Then we have a report, Economic Profile 2016, Warsaw Summit. Then we have Economic Profile 2018. Then we have Economic Profile 2018 made by SNA. Then we have Afghanistan Overview 2013, it's in Pashto. Then we have Afghanistan Overview 2018, it's in English. There are some other reports on budgeting, closing the gaps in budget execution. Then there is a short report on central bank branches. Then we have Kabul Bank Asset Recovery, a report on this. Then there is another report on Millennium Development Goals. And then there is a tax guide. There is Sustainable Development Goals. These there are two types of goals that the United Nations provides to each member country, so the country can work and achieve those goals. And these two goals are MDGs and Millennium Development Goals, and SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Inshallah, we'll talk about them during the lectures. What are these two? So here you can study about them in these reports. Then there is stages of budget process and taxation in Afghanistan. So basically, these are all those materials, extra materials and reports and research and articles which have been utilized to prepare your subject lectures, and those are 10 or 11 chapters. So I'll have to provide all of these. You can refer to these extra resources as a source of self-study, and besides you can have your own lectures, formal lectures in form of lecture notes and in form of class notes, right? So that is all about the mood of lecture. And now let's talk about the subject introduction. As I mentioned earlier, that this subject is of very importance, because in this subject the main discussion is our economy. We'll have a close picture of our economy, and we'll have discussion on all the ups and downs which came on our economy due to political interference and due to internal or external factors which negatively affected our economy, and as a result we don't have a stable and a very strong economy last 5 or 6 decades. So basically Afghanistan's economy is a political economy. So what is political economy? Political economy is basically an economy which has a direct relationship with the politics. Means if political situation is better, so normally our economic situation improves as well. If the political situation is not better, then usually our economy also falls down. And we have witnessed great fall downs in our economy due to the political instability and the civil wars of last 5 decades. So let's talk about the subject. This subject mainly has these 10 or 11 chapters. Chapter 0 is about historical timeline of Afghanistan, which we will discuss today, inshallah. And then we have chapter number 1, introduction and general information. In this chapter, so each chapter has a lecture or two, and each lecture contains various topics. At the beginning of each chapter, there is lecture overview, what this lecture will cover, what topics will be covered in this chapter. So each chapter contains 1 or 2 lectures, and each lecturer covers a few specific topics. As a whole, one chapter is about a certain topic, a certain main topic from the course contents. So inshallah, we'll go through chapter by chapter. We'll go through all the topics chapter by chapter, and wherever necessary, we'll have a class discussion on this word file. I'll elaborate in simple English to you. Like this subject, there is a discussion on the topics. It's not like the other subjects where you can learn in like mostly a new concept or a new topic or a new theory. It's not like that. This chapter is this subject here. There's discussion here. Facts and figures are discussed about the economy of Afghanistan. So it's not like that difficult. It's a very easy subject. This subject is mostly informative. It informs you about the economy of Afghanistan, its ups and downs. So let's go through what we are going to study in this subject. So the main contents of this subject is going to be overview and general information, economic history and background, economic geography, economic performance and national accounts, economic sectors, commerce and industries, mine and minerals, banking sector, fiscal year and budgeting, taxation and commercial law, economic and financial and economic agencies in Afghanistan, trade agreements and relationships with international finance and economic institutions, reasons of economic backwardness and Afghanistan national development strategy and economic development and recovery. So these are all those topics which were included in your course curriculum, and inshallah we're going to discuss. We will also have discussion on what are international finance and economic institutions, inshallah. How we will study, as I told you earlier, on Afghanistan economy there is lack of reliable statistics, but still we have lots of publications from national and international organizations, and those publications are based on the surveys and researches. Like we can rely on them, but you will see that the results of all those researches and reports, it's variable. One research shows one result and other research shows other result, and you guys know the reason of that. You know, the researches are based on the questionnaires and the data. So data sometimes is good and sometimes is not that much good. So the better is the data, the better is the result. So we have used different reports and researches published by the World Bank and UN and other governmental agencies. Alright, so why this subject is important? This subject is of very importance for all the students, especially for the students of economics, because or the business administration, BBA, because we have a direct relation with the business, and business is one of the key factor of an economy. So when you want to do business or you want to work in a business in a country, you will have to have information about the economy of that country. So for all the students it's very important, but for the students of economics and the students of business field, this is very important because it gives you all the statistics and important information about an economy and all those factors in the economy which has direct effect on the business or on the business organization. This subject is also very important for all the students who want to get job in economic organizations or finance organizations, or maybe in finance or economic sector. Also those students who want to take part in the economic debates, this subject is going to help them a lot. Also the students who want to write and are interested in writing articles and publishing them, this subject will going to help them a lot. Also people who are interested in reading the writings of the people, other people, or the scholars, or who are interested in reading the publications published by different people. So this subject is going to help them a lot in identifying the strongness or the weakness of that publication or of that writing. Or especially if you want to do business in Afghanistan, this subject is going to help you a lot. Right? So this is all about the subject. Now we'll start with the historical timeline of Afghanistan. This great country, which is now called Afghanistan, has a long history of domination by foreign conquerors. There has been a lot of battles in Afghanistan, and we have very famous people like Ahmad Shah Abdali. So Afghanistan's history traces back to Alexander to 500 BC and 329 BC. Afghanistan's one of the most famous conqueror was Mahmud Ghaznavi, who in the 11th century conquered Iran and India and made Afghanistan one of the greatest country in the world. In 13th century, Genghis Khan took over the territory. After 13th century, Genghis Khan's invasion, which finished in 17th century. In early 19th century, British came into India and then started occupying all the Indian territories and then entered Afghanistan. So looking at this, Afghanistan has a long history, but we'll discuss only the last century's history, starting from 1921, where British army was defeated by King Amanullah Khan and he became Amir. He was declared Amir by the people of Afghanistan, and he then started economic reforms in 1921. In 1926, King Amanullah declared Afghanistan a monarchy, and proclaimed himself king, and then he started modernizing the economy, and he developed modern plans by limiting the Loy Jarga power, which lead to the critics of the National Council. And by 1929, King Amanullah leaves the country. In 1933, Zahir Shah becomes the king and rules over the country for 40 years. In 1934, the United States of America formally recognizes Afghanistan and invites King Amanullah for an official visit to United States of America for the first time. In 1947, British Army withdraws from India and Pakistan comes into existence as an Islamic state, which later on converts into a democratic country, which no more remains Islamic State. In 1953, King Daud Khan, who was the cousin of the King Amanullah Khan, King Zahir Shah, becomes the Prime Minister and introduces a number of social reforms, including allowing women into more public presence. In 1956, two countries becomes close allies, and that is Russia and Afghanistan. And this was Daud Khan's era. In 1957, as part of Daud Khan's reforms, women are allowed to attend university for the first time and enter into the workplaces or as a workforce. 1965, the Afghanistan Communist Party secretly forms, and then Babrak Karmal and Muhammad Tarake starts leading it. In 1973, Daud Khan overthrows the King Zahir Shah in a military coup, and the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan comes to the power, whereby Daud Khan abolishes the monarchy or the kingdomship and named himself president, and the Republic of Afghanistan is established with firm ties to the Russia. So it was 1973 where for the first time Afghanistan's political status changed from monarchy to the Republic, Islamic Republic. 1975 to 1977, Daud Khan proposes a new constitution that grants women rights and works to modernize the largely communist state. He also cracks down on opponents, forcing many suspects to not support King out of the government. 1978, Daud Khan was killed by a communist coup by Muhammad Tarake, one of the founding members of Afghan Communist Party, and takes control of the country as a president. And Babur Kalmar is named Deputy Prime Minister. They proclaim independence for Soviet influence and declares their policies to be based on Islamic principles of nationalism and socio-economic justice. In 1979, American ambassador Adolf Dubs is killed. The United States cuts off assistance to Afghanistan, a power struggle between Taraki and Deputy Minister Hafizullah Amin begins. Taraki is killed on September 14 in confrontation with Amin supporters. So this is the time where Afghanistan gets into serious trouble. 1979, after the withdrawal or overthrowing the Daud Khan regime. So it was 1979 where Afghanistan gets into trouble, and till now we are in that trouble. We have not seen a harmony in our political and economic situation. Our economy has been destabilized. In 1980s, Mujahideen started overthrowing Babur Kalmar, and they started uniting against the Soviet invaders. 1982, 2.8 million Afghans have fled from the war to Pakistan, and this is the time where downfall of Afghanistan economy and politics starts. 1984, was the time when Soviet withdraw from Afghanistan, and Saudi Islamist Osama bin Laden makes his first documented trip to Afghanistan to aid anti-Soviet fighters. 1986, Mujahideen are receiving arms from United States, British Army, Britain and China with the help of Pakistan. September 1988, Osama bin Laden and 15 other Islamists from Al-Qaeda continued their jihad or holy war against the Soviet invaders. 1989, the US, Pakistan, Afghanistan and Soviet Union signed peace accord in Geneva, and withdrawal of 1,000 troops of Soviet Union. Following Soviet withdrawal, the Mujahideen continued their resistance against the Soviet-backed regime. Communist President Muhammad Najibullah, who had been elected president of the puppet Soviet state in 1986. Afghan guerrillas named Sabghatullah Mujaddidi as a head of their exiled government. 1989 and 92, the Mujahideen and other rebels group, with the aid of turncoat government troops, stormed the capital Kabul and Najibullah and overthrow Najibullah from the power. Ahmad Shah Massoud and other legendary guerrilla leaders leads the troops into the capital. The United Nations efforts protection to Najibullah, the Mujahideen, a group already beginning to fracture as a warlords fight over the future of Afghanistan, from largely Islamic State with the Professor Burhanuddin Rabbani as president. 1995, newly formed Islamic militia, the Taliban, rises to power on promises for peace. So at the beginning, most of the Afghans, as they were tired from the civil wars, they openly and happily warm welcomed the Taliban with the hope that they will they will bring peace to them, which did not happen. From 1995 to 1999, Taliban had their Islamic State in Afghanistan, and at that time there were only a few countries who officially accepted Islamic State of Afghanistan as a country, including Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and United States of Emirates. 1997, Taliban publicly executes Najibullah. In 1998, Al-Qaeda's bombing of 2 American embassies in Africa. In 2000, Al-Qaeda was considered as international terrorist, and Bin Laden was believed to be the leader of them in hiding in Afghanistan. So they started demanding him from Taliban. They first denied to hand over Osama bin Laden, but later on they agreed to hand him over, provided if the United States provides documental proofs that he was involved in 9/11 bombings, which were not provided, and Taliban denied handing Osama bin Laden over to United States of America, which led to a big disagreement between United States and Afghanistan, and finally they decided to send the troops to Afghanistan. And it was the time when Afghanistan really gets into trouble. 2001. 2002, Loy Jarga was held and Hamid Karzai was elected as an interim leader, and later on 2004 Loy Jarga held, and over 500,000 Afghans participated in that Jarga, where the constitution was enacted and new elections happened in October 2004, in which Hamid Karzai was selected as a president of Afghanistan. 2005 was the time when for the first time parliamentary elections were happened. 2006, once again fighting between Taliban and Al-Qaeda fighters against Afghan government forces and NATO started. And then 2007, a Taliban commander Mullah Dadullah was claimed to be killed. In 2008, international community pledged to aid Afghanistan with $15 billion as a donation and for the reforms and developments to fight against corruption and terrorism. 2009, Barack Obama becomes the president, and he elects Richard as a special envoy to Afghanistan and Pakistan. 2010, President Barack Obama accepts General Stanley resignation as the top commander in Afghanistan of the Allies forces. 2011. US forces overtake a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan and kill Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. 2012, President Hamid Karzai calls for American forces to leave Afghanistan. 2013, Afghan army takes overall military and security operations from NATO forces. In 2014, elections happened and Ashraf Ghani was elected as the president and Dr. Abdullah as the CEO. So you see, all this 100 years, the only time where we can see that there was a little peace and there were some plans and development work was the era of Dawood Khan. After Dawood Khan's era, you can see that there has been conflicts, internal conflicts and external conflicts, and our neighboring countries had already started intervening or interfering in our internal affairs, including Soviet Union, Pakistan and Iran and some other countries. So after the Dawood Khan's regime, Afghanistan's political and economic situation was very devastating. It was very unstable and the downfall has already started. So that is the overall timeline or historical timeline of Afghanistan. As I told you earlier, that Afghanistan is a political economy. That's why we had to study this historical timeline to see it, what time, what happened and who did what. So hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Please let me know if you have any suggestions, any recommendations which could further improve our delivery of lectures, inshallah, for the next time. So once again, this was the first introductory lecture where I introduced you to the Afghanistan economy and we had discussion on historical timeline. Inshallah, next lectures are going to be very informative. We'll formally start our first lecture of this course. So this was an extra thing for you, so you can have an overview of Afghanistan's historical timeline. Hope you have enjoyed. بازم شاگردای عزیز این لکچر تعریفی بوده. کدام خاص دیسکشن دیمانه داشتیم، فقط یک درباره تاریخ افغانستان یک اوورال دیسکشن کردیم و درباره چگونگی مضمون و چگونگی درس ها گپ زدیم. انشالله درس بعدی ما رسما ما لکچر خود آغاز میکنیم، درس های خود آغاز میکنیم از اون تاپیک ها را انشالله. فلهذا شما این ویدیو را که میبینید لکچر، کدام سجشن داشته باشین، کدام سوال داشته باشین، کدام پیشنهاد داشته باشین، انشالله با ما در واتساپ گروپ با ما بگذارین. انشالله ما با لکچر آینده اونا را مد نظر گرفته انشالله لکچر را دیزاین میکنیم و با شما ارائه میکنیم. صحیح؟ شاگردانو انشالله را روان لکچر ته که تاسو کوم تغییر او تبدیل غواړئ چې لکچر ډیلیوری کې تغیرات راشي او کوم پیشنهاد وي تر څو موږ وکولی شو چې تاسو لپاره بهتر انداز کې لکچر ارائه کو، نو تاسو خامخا په واتساپ ګروپ کې ما خپل پیشنهادات راولګئ. دا لکچر فقط یو تعارفي لکچر و، په دې کوم خاص درس موږ ډسکشن په ونه کو، فقط د افغانستان تاریخچه باره کې ډسکشن وکړو. انشاءالله چې کوم سوالی یا کوم پیشنهادي بیا ګروپ کې ما ته راولګئ. ډیره مننه.